When I set up my new computer in my dorm room, I thought this thing is going to make college a lot easier. No standing in line at the computer lab, no racing the clock to print assignments. I had everything I needed right at my desk. It was an IBM PS2 with a dot matrix printer. This was a surprise gift I got from my parents before I left for school. They had sacrificed to give me those tools, and I felt ahead of the curve. I was ready, responsible. And that week I had a paper due. Nothing complicated, just a couple of pages. I sat down, certain I was about to cruise through this assignment. And the day of class, I hit print. Nothing. Tried again. Nothing. No big deal, I thought. The night before, it spit out random symbols, but I just figured it was just a glitch. Reboot, hit print, and I'd be fine. But time was slipping away. And the professor, he was the kind that would give zeros if the paper was not on his desk when the bell rang. No late papers, no excuses. So I leaned in close, willing the machine to cooperate. Still nothing. And that's when my patience snapped. I slammed my fist down on the flimsy dorm desk. And in what felt like slow motion, the printer leaped into the air and then crashed onto the floor. Silence. My stomach dropped. It wasn't just a printer, this was my parents' gift. It was their sacrifice, and I had just broken it in a temper tantrum. So I set it back on the desk and tried again. The printer made its typical noise, spark of hope. Maybe I gotten away with it. The first line printed, and the second line printed right on top of the first line. And the third line, same spot. It wasn't feeding the paper anymore. It was just hammering the same place on the paper again and again. I copied the file to a 3.5-inch floppy disk, sprinted to the computer lab, and got the paper in to the desk on time. Barely. I had to skip lunch that day. That night, when I got back to my room, I pulled the paper up and tore that page off, the one that had the one line printed over and over. And out of desperation, I tried to print again. And as it spun up and made that typical dot matrix noise, I tugged on it as it printed, just a little pressure, and it fed forward. Too much pressure and it jumped, too little, nothing moved. But just the right touch and it worked. And from that day forward, for at least 2 years, every time I needed to print, I had to stand there feeding the paper, line by line, every single time. And every time I remembered why. Because I lost my patience, because I thought force would solve the problem. I rarely lose my temper with objects anymore. Printers and I, we have a truce. But I think about that printer a lot as an entrepreneur because business is the same way. Sometimes things do not move as fast as we want. Sometimes they break. Sometimes we're stuck doing things manually, line by line, way longer than we'd like. And the temptation is always there to force it, to slam the desk, but it doesn't work. Instead, take the next best step. Adjust the pressure. Feed the paper. Keep moving forward.